amazing.
And it sounds like you were like a pretty conservative dude before that, like that you were not like a entrepreneur at heart. You weren't like starting businesses.
So I helped some family members start businesses. When I graduated from college, my mom, who was a 30-year elementary school teacher, she came to me and she's like, you just finished design school. She's like, I want to start a company. I want to make board games for kids, like little math games. So we started a company together. I was her designer. It was called Flip Flop Math. And we made little card games and board games for kids. I designed the graphics. She designed the games themselves. I designed the boxes, the website. So I got to see that aspect of marketing and branding and bringing a product to market. Her company no longer exists. And then my brother wanted to start a company, and I helped him with some of the branding for that. And then his company didn't end up working out. So I did have little bits and pieces, but not any professional capacity. It was just me helping people with various bits of it. And then when I started Hammerly Ceramics, I had access to design students, design professors, and like we workshopped my logo and we workshopped like the name. Should it be Curt Hammerly or should it be Hammerly Ceramics? And I involved all the people around me in the process, even at that point, even when it wasn't Instagram. When it was just people around me on a daily basis at work, it was always about just like getting people's feedback, sharing with them, getting their ideas, processing that into what it could become. So yeah, no formal experience with starting businesses, I never intended this to be my career. It was always supposed to be just a side thing.
So you're now working at design. And what did you study for design?
So I went to basically, let's just say architecture school to simplify it.
I have a Bachelor of Industrial Design, so it sounds
cool. Yeah. So I leaned into all of those classes: graphics, web design, product design. Even though I was in architecture school, I tried to specialize in kind of a smaller scale handheld and digital as I could.
Okay. So you're now working, you got a job, you've sold your first piece, the drug of entrepreneurship has got you hooked. You start selling a bunch of stuff. What are the inflection points? Obviously, sales start going up. And at what point did you say, hey, this is my side hustle. I think I could do this as a full hustle, and maybe it's time. Like, at what point did that flip-flop on you?
It was an interesting moment because it took way longer than everyone thought it should. I've done this in the most careful, conservative-esque way that you can. I talk to people every day who are like, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to make a go at it with art. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. But so how do I frame this? Started going well, kept making stuff for Etsy. All of a sudden, that holiday season, I started selling in March. And that Christmas season, I put up my last batch of 80 pieces on Black Friday. And by about December 7th, they were gone. They were all sold out. I had already shipped them out. And I started getting messages on Instagram that were like, hey, where's the stuff? Like, my wife, girlfriend, husband, whatever, wants one of your pieces. They specifically told me to get one of your pieces. Where are they? And I was like, I'm done for the year. This is also the end of the semester at the university, so my job gets very busy. So I'm at my job, my day job, being very busy, getting messages on Instagram, 4 or 5 a day at that point, that were like, hey, I need your shit. People are like, I have money in my hand. I need a coffee mug. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm sorry, but I don't have anything. Like, I'm done for the year. I'm doing this part-time in my basement, firing on weekends, getting stuff online whenever I can. And then January rolls around and I make a batch quicker than I ever had. I wasn't planning on having another batch until February or March. January rolls around and I get a batch of about 80 pieces done. And I'm like, okay, this will sustain it for a while. I'll put it online, and it's January. No one's spending money. Like, everyone already spent all their money during the holidays. And that batch of 80 sold out in a week and a half. And I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy. So I'm just sitting at my day job being like, I need to make more pottery. How do I do this?
And what was the price point at that point? And has it changed until now? What are your categories? There's mugs. What sort of stuff were you making? How has that evolved over time?
it's evolved into other things. We do planters, we do bubblers. Right now, my product offering is actually pretty small, but we
Okay.
can get into that later. This is a very weird year. The business has changed, and my work is no longer my primary source of revenue. But we can talk about that later. So when I first started, the mugs were 35 a piece. And by the time we're talking about right now in that January, I think I bumped them up to 45. Nowadays, we are 7 years later, and they are 95 to 100 a piece. And that just happened incrementally over time as demand kept going up and process became more complicated. Like a lot of people will try to find all the ways they possibly can to simplify their process for their product, but this is art. So I have actually in the last couple of years made my products significantly more challenging to produce, but I like them better and it keeps me entertained. So we keep running with that.
And were you in a position where you were pretty much just as you made like everything sold out, like you weren't building
It
up
got
enough
there.
store inventory, or you couldn't
Nope.
even keep up with demand?
Couldn't keep up with demand. I always had plans to start doing art shows, local art shows on the weekend, go set up a booth, sell my work there.
Never
But
did.
online, it just kept vanishing. And like I'm sitting there at this point, I think I have 50,000 followers, and I'm going into this new semester at work, and I'm like, holy shit, like this seems too good to be true. It seems like it can't sustain itself, whatever. It's just crazy. So I just keep going, making stuff, selling it instantly, making stuff, selling it instantly. Instagram keeps growing. By that summer, I think I was at like 75,000 followers. And my mom came to one of the kiln unloadings. This is when, before I had my own kiln, I was firing at a community center and I would live stream every single unloading. And that was what built this hype for the sales. So I'm in there
Oh,
and go
super
ahead,
interesting. So where would you live stream it on?
on Instagram.
Oh, you do live video on Instagram.
Not anymore. It's not what it used to be, but like I used to live stream a video to two or 300 people, and then it would save it for 24 hours, and 4 or 5,000 people would watch it over the course of that 24 hours. So I'm doing this live stream and unloading the kiln, and my mom is on her phone watching the live stream as she watches me and seeing the interactions and seeing the comments. And when we close down the live stream and start unloading the kiln, she's, wow, this actually seems like it could be like something you could do for a living. And I was by no means waiting for her approval, but my mom is an incredibly fiscally conservative human. And she worked in the same classroom as an elementary school teacher for 31 years. Like she did what she was supposed to do. She made her living and didn't risk too much in her career. She was raising 3 kids and so on and so forth. So it's totally understandable. But for my mother to say that to me and be like, wow, like I was not raised to be an artist. I was raised to be an engineer. So for my mom to give even the slightest indication that she thinks that me making art for a living could be a viable career path was just like, holy shit, maybe it is. Being as cautious as I am, I went to my boss and said, hey, I want to go down to 3 days a week instead of 5. I don't want to work full time anymore. I want to make a go. Everyone at work knew what I was doing. And they said no. And I was like, you
Wow.
let new mothers, you let people in other situations have a flexible schedule. Why won't you let me? And they were like, oh, it's different, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, then I quit. And they were like, whoa, hold up. And then
Amazing the
she went to
person.
I know, and she didn't call my bluff, fortunately, because I was not in a position in my mind that I was ready to quit. Along this whole line, like I'm still building my skills as an artist. I still felt like an absolute novice with what I was doing. And yes, I had this novel approach with the 3D printing, but my work still very much was not good enough, in my opinion. I still don't think it is, but
Great
that's a
artist.
different thing. Yeah. So I go down to 3 days a week and they let me do it. And so now I'm doing 3 days at the university and 4 days dedicated to pottery. And there is a 3 month period where I made more money with pottery 4 days on my like part-time schedule than I ever would at my career. Like I was
Right.
staring down the
Even if you
barrel
got
of
promoted.
There were no promotions. Without a master's degree or a PhD at the university staff level, there's nowhere to go. So I was in this position where I was just looking at 1 to 2% raises every year for the rest of my life. And there was this 3 month period where selling pottery on Etsy completely demolished that salary. And I was like, holy crap, if this happens a couple more months, I'm gonna quit completely. And that's exactly what happened. I just kept making more stuff, kept improving, came out with new designs, came out with new glazes, kept building the Instagram. I think by the time I quit my job, I was at like, I think I was at 110,000. I don't even remember at this point